Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Paws in Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. So today is going to actually be a requested topic on today's episode. It's going to be 5 exercises to improve your agility dog's focus, featuring the winning start line routine. So I'm going to be giving you those 5 exercises and then breaking down the start line routine. That should set you up for a great, hopefully winning run. Okay, so I just want to touch on something. So obviously requested episodes are fantastic. Please do keep on sending me your topic requests, both obviously solo episode topics and also guests and the topics you want me to speak to my guests about. However, obviously, as most of you know by now, I do offer online one-to-one coaching for agility handlers and their dogs, which obviously delves deep into your sort of training problems, training goals, things you want to achieve, very tailored to you and your dog as individuals. So I don't want to give too much away for free on the podcast, if that makes sense, with these topics. However, I think, I'll give you an outline. I'll give you your ideas to get you started for free on the pod. That's the point of the podcast, for free. But then, if you want further help actually actioning these tips and points, and you want it tailored specifically to you and your dog, and then tweaks to be made, depending on how your dog responds, and depending what you want to achieve, short-term, long-term, etc., which everyone is different, as you know, then that is where my one-to-one online coaching comes in. So if you are interested in the one-to-one online coaching, please do get in touch and I'll give you some more info. I do have a lovely bunch of students right now that I'm super grateful for. And yeah, having a great time helping you all achieve your goals. But without further ado, let's get into my weekly recap. So, first of all is a little injury update. Of course, I need to tell you guys about my foot. So most of you probably know I was diagnosed 2 weeks ago, today actually, funnily enough, because it is Tuesday, with a stress fracture in my third metatarsal on my right foot. So that meant that I haven't been able to bear weight on it for about, 5 weeks now, because it was originally left for a month where I continued on it because I was told it was probably nothing really serious. Then I finally got the answers I was looking for after a month. It was at its worst at this point because it had obviously got worse because I didn't know what it was or how to make it better. But 2 weeks after getting the official diagnosis, which was weirdly actually a huge relief, a bit like dog training in a weird way, problems and issues that arise don't bother me when I know how to strive towards fixing it and eventually fix it. If I know what the problem is and how to solve it, great. If it's something that I'm kind of like, I have no idea what this is, what causes it, I'm at a loss, that's frustrating. And you always figure it out eventually, but that little period is quite frustrating. But yeah, now I've got answers. It is definitely getting better. I'm still not fully weight bearing on it, but I'm walking a lot more normally than I was. And it is a lot more pain-free. What's weird is that I got given physio exercises and I did them for 2 days and it made it worse. So I stopped doing those and it's almost completely pain-free now. So that's bizarre. I probably just did them too fast, too soon. I don't know, but this physio told me to do them straight away. All of them in one go. So that's bizarre. When you just kind of sometimes deal with professionals and you're like, what did you do at uni? What did you do to get trained? I just sometimes am at a loss. But anyway, I can't talk because I never did anything particularly complicated at uni or stuff like that. So I'm sure being a physio is way harder than being an agility trainer. That's not my point, you know what I mean? A bit scary when you're like, I'm relying on these people and it's the things they're giving me is making it worse. I've also had lots of doctors, nurses, etc. tell me lots of different things, which is fantastic. But I'm at the point where I've kind of figured out through more trial and error than anything what is working for me, what is making it feel better. So yeah, positivity all round. We're getting there. We've got 57 days to Olympia. I'm not a sado. I do have a countdown app. I have not memorised that. Don't worry about my mental sanity. Although actually maybe you should worry about my mental sanity because I still can't do much. But But anyway, not going to start moaning at you again. So yeah, a solid 57 days. Like I said, it's only been 14 days since the diagnosis. So we'll get there. We'll do it. The comeback will be strong. I've started doing bits and bobs with Arrow in the Garden. Obviously, I have to keep up my online coaching content for my students. So we've been getting that done, getting that filmed in the garden, and then just doing some little bits to keep Arrow in the game, because, you know, it is really important to me that Arrow stays in the game, you know, both physically and mentally. And I need him to stay injury free, you know, especially in the build up to Olympia, but in general anyway. And I'm not going to lie, motivation to do these little types of sessions, just static sessions in the garden, motivation's quite low when I can't leg it round a course like I really want to and stuff like that. But we're getting it done. We're doing what we need to do. And yeah, so that's a little injury update, but we're definitely going in the right direction. What else has happened in the past week? I got my new van. How exciting. I can't believe it. I got my first ever van. I'm absolutely buzzing. Obviously, I can't actually drive it yet because, I mean, I probably could, but it's just in case I had to slam my brakes on, for example. Then that might hurt my foot quite dramatically in the moment. If that was guaranteed not to happen, I could definitely drive, but I'm not going to risk it. And I'm also not silly, and I don't want to risk anything when it comes to driving and the road and stuff like that, because it's a scary place. But anyway, so on social media, most of you have probably seen this already, but there's a picture of my beautiful new van and me looking very cheerful in front of it. But yeah, really, really, really chuffed with that. It's like a proper dog van. It's white. One day I'm going to get Paws in Pursuit, my logo, on it, and it's just going to be a great time. I want to get it crated out and stuff like that. I know I only have mostly one dog to transport, so I don't really need it crated out properly, but it's going to happen one day, especially if I'm going to get a puppy in the next few years. Exciting times. But anyway, so that is fun. What else? Oh, Arrow celebrated his 5th birthday. I cannot believe that. You probably all saw the social media post. I gave him a little pup cake. He had lots of presents. He had a great time, and I'm just looking back at the photo of him with his cake. You know when you just look at your dog and you're like, I'm so in love with you. Like, I would die for you. But anyway, I can't believe he's 5. That's generally quite scary to me. I still think of him as a newborn fetus. But anyway, life goes on. So those things happened. What else happened? Oh, the last thing that's happened to me is that I had a very exciting business meeting. So I had sort of a business meeting dinner type thing at a restaurant. And I'm not going to give it all away yet because, you know, I won't be actioning it until the new year, because obviously don't want to be doing too much on my foot too soon. But basically it's along the lines of, you know, me teaching agility. And you know me, big foodie, so business meetings over dinner is exactly what I like. It is exactly my type of business meeting. So that was super fun, really interesting, really exciting. And I am just at the point now where I'm like, you know what? I need it to be 2025 now. I want it to be 2025 now, you know. This kind of 2024 isn't ending in the best way for me with this injury. So I'm just excited to be better and start smashing the new year. Got lots of exciting things going on and lots of cool plans. But yeah, I've just been waiting my whole life to be an agility instructor, and I feel like 2025 is the year I'm going to action that. And you know what? I know 2025 is going to be the year I action that, and I'm so excited. But anyway, let's get on with the episode. So yeah, I need to remind myself the actual, 5 exercises to improve your agility dog's focus, featuring the winning start line routine, okay? So the first exercise is the watch me cue, okay? So most of you probably know what this is or have it. It is pretty much where you ask your dog to look at you and they do so on command. So for example, if I say watch me to Arrow, he will look into my soul, into my eyes, at my face. And not only will this encourage your dog to focus on you at all times, you know, because they're going to get used to doing it and getting rewarded for it, but it's a super helpful way to divert their attention from distractions if something catches their eye. So, for example, if you're at a show and they've started barking or reacting to another dog running in a nearby ring, you can say, watch me, and get their attention onto you off of that distraction. Or if you're on a walk and they see, another person or dog and they're paying it a little bit too much attention, or another animal or wildlife, etc., that's really handy. So for this, what you want to do is you want to start by standing next to your dog and placing a treat bag, toy, or anything they find fun on the ground in front of you, okay? So while holding treats subtly in your own hand, say your dog's name and reward them for responding to your voice by looking away from the object and towards you. Okay, so as soon as they divert their attention away from that fun object and look at you when you call their name, reward them. Once this is consistent, you can then replace their name with your chosen watch me cue, obviously, and repeat that until this is consistent. So you don't have to say their name anymore, you just say your chosen cue. And this is great because you can practice this anywhere and at any time, pretty much as long as you have treats on you. So we love that. Number 2, right, now this is the start line routine aspect. So let's face it, if your dog isn't focused on the start line, the run is very unlikely to go your way. Okay, in my opinion, the start line is the foundation of the entire run. So with Arrow, if he's not focused on the start line and I release him while he's distracted, there's almost no point in even doing the run. Not only is your dog probably going to set off slowly and waste time, that is going to keep them from doing really well, but they're probably going to go around the run not really listening to you because they just weren't in the right headspace from the get-go, if that makes sense. When you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're just not focused to start your day and the rest of the day is just a little bit hectic and a little bit not ideal, it's kind of that principle. And yes, I know you can turn it around, but in general, all right. So first off for this, you want to teach them a position of your choice. So with Arrow, I've personally chosen the middle position, so that's between my legs. You may choose a position that your dog already knows, such as a simple sit or down, which is totally fine, but I like the middle position as it allows me to set Arrow up at the perfect angle. So I can stand at exactly the angle, with the exact view of the first part of the course that I want him to see. And I know that he's going to, have that view himself and have that line when he takes off, which is super important, not only for efficiency, but also, for getting, that's pretty much it. For efficiency, getting the best time out of your dog, making sure they have a good enough run up to the first jump, so they don't knock a pole, etc., etc. So when this position, and obviously with the middle position, you want to choose what behaviour they're doing in the middle. So sit down, stand, etc. Totally up to you. Ideally, middle will be all one. You won't have to say middle sit or middle down. It'll be middle, and they'll know what behaviour to do under your legs. So when this position is consistent, it's time to teach your dog to remain in it as you lead out in front of them. So this is the start line routine, obviously. So start by doing this without an obstacle in front of them to start with, as you want to set them up for success. So obviously, when you're first teaching this, having a jump or something else really exciting directly in front of their face is going to be distracting, and it's basically going to set them up for failure in a way. And we don't want that when we're first teaching something. We want to make it nice and easy, nice and clear. So assuming your dog already has a wait cue, if they don't, they should. Why did they not? Teach them this. That sounded really harsh, but I feel like most of your dogs have a wait cue, as that is probably one of the most useful, most basic and most necessary commands to teach a dog. So if your dog already has the wait, ask them for their position, ask them to wait, and take a single step away. Mark this with either a clicker or your marker cue, so I use the word yes, before moving back in and rewarding them in position. Next time, take 2 steps away before marking, stepping back in and rewarding, and continue this until you have taken at least 5 steps away from them before marking, stepping back in and rewarding. So remember to always reward them in their position, as we want them to really value it. So always give that reward while they're in that static position. Make sure they haven't moved. If they have moved, obviously, go back, correct them, and then reward that position again. So that is the, lead out part of the start line routine. The next part is the ready cue. So number 3. Another cue that encourages focus on the start line is this ready cue, and is your dog's cue to look forward at the obstacle in front of them and prepare to engage with it. So now obviously you can start adding that obstacle in front of them. If they've got that solid first part of the behaviour where they wait in position, you lead out, you go back and reward them and they don't budge. So in the same way as you taught the watch me cue, you want to use shaping and reward your dog for looking at the obstacle in front of them instead of you or external distractions. So all you have to do is stand next to your dog in front of an obstacle and wait for them to look in its direction through shaping. So again, you can kind of help them out by maybe you looking at the obstacle, leaning towards the obstacle, a very subtle sort of point to the obstacle if your dog isn't catching on. And when they do look at it, give your marker cue and reward them. So like I said, if you have to, you can do a little bit to help them in that first early stage. And eventually your dog will learn that looking at the obstacle earns them that reinforcement. So when this is consistent, you want to add your chosen ready cue as they look towards the obstacle. So again, I use ready. It's probably the most obvious one to use. But again, as long as you're consistent with it, doesn't really matter what cues you use. So after a while, you can start saying ready before they look at the obstacle and rewarding them for following through. So just before they go to look at it, say ready. And then obviously you can gradually say ready sooner until you're saying it before they've even thought about looking at the obstacle. Basic shaping principles, basically. So generalize this new behaviour by gradually standing further back from your dog, so they have to change their line of sight more drastically. So they're not just looking from you to the jump and you're near the jump in the first place, but they're practically looking behind them over their shoulder, and then you say ready and they have to completely switch their point of view. Yeah, you go what I mean. So number 4 is Number 4 is the countdown. So making sure your dog is focused on you before being released is super important if you want to feel connected over the course of your run, like I said earlier. So you probably heard me use this with Arrow. I used it more when he was younger. Haven't used it too much recently because of his nerves, and the faster I can release him off the line, the better as far as him not overthinking. But in the majority of cases, using 3, 2, 1 prepares your dog for their eventual release, builds their drive, and encourages a fast and focused release. So this is especially really good to practice for dogs that like to break their start line. And often, if, say, Arrow's sniffing on the start line, if I say 3, 2, he'll look up, and by 1, he's looking up and ready. So I like to call this the coiled spring effect. So their spring is coiling as you say ready, 3, 2, 1. And then by the time you say okay, they're a fully coiled spring and they're ready to explode off that start line. So to teach this, this makes them faster as well off the start line in my experience. So to teach this, leave your dog in a wait and lead out in front of them as per the previous exercise. When you reach your position, say 3. And then give your marker cue if they remain in position and move back in to reward them. So basically, we're rewarding them for not going on anything but their release cue, okay? So when this is consistent, you can then do the same, but say 3, 2 before marking and rewarding. And then when that's consistent, you can say the whole 3, 2, 1 before marking and rewarding. Finally, you can say 3, 2, 1 and then your release cue, so okay or go, and reward them when they get to you. So that's the whole routine. So if your dog loses focus or becomes distracted at any stage, simply go back a step and reward 1 number sooner. So remember, there's no rush with any of this. It's all a learning process, and you shouldn't expect your dog to master a new behaviour in a single session. Some dogs probably do, but you should never expect that to happen because it will cause frustration for both of you. So once you have taught behaviours 2 to 4 separately, ask your dog to wait in position, lead out, say ready, 3, 2, 1, okay, and reward them when they get to you. So that's combining all of those behaviours together. Now, because this is kind of one shortish podcast episode, it sounds like you're doing all this in one go. You're not. This wants to be over a fairly decent span of sessions, okay? You don't want to move on until, I always say, your dog's success rate is at least 95% and they're really, really, really consistent with a behaviour. Then you can make it harder and move on and add something else, okay? Just want to make that really crystal clear, okay? So after further proofing, you then have yourself a super focused, fast and drivey start line routine. So number 5 then, the last exercise that I'm going to give you guys today for focus is cue discrimination. And this is quite self-explanatory. So, teaching solid verbal cues and staying consistent with them will promote excellent focus and understanding on the agility course. So dogs often lose focus or display displacement behaviours that we often interpret as a lack of focus when they are worried or unsure. This uncertainty causes them to drift off, quote unquote, or in more extreme cases, shut down completely. For example, Arrow used to sniff on the start line in an attempt to displace his nerves. So for a while, I interpreted this as purely just a lack of focus. However, I soon learned that he was simply trying to self-soothe and avoid the fear-inducing situation by averting his attention elsewhere, okay? So don't automatically blame your dog and say, oh, they've lost focus, they're not bothered, blah, blah, blah. They could be fully aware of what's going on. They just are very nervous about it, and this is a way of self-soothing. So working on a consistent start line routine and proofing his agility skills really helped with this, as he knew what to expect and developed confidence in both himself and me as a handler. So a surefire way then to achieve this is to practice cue discrimination. So in other words, improving your dog's ability to understand each of the cues that they've been taught on the agility course. Again, something to work on over time, but for example, teach them the difference between a right turn, left turn, tight wing wrap towards you, backside wrap, backside slice, threadle wrap and threadle slice, all on a single jump. So, you've got one jump in your training session and you don't want to be giving them physical cues as such. You want to be giving them those verbal cues and them interacting with that jump depending on the behaviour that you ask them to complete. So we want them to understand your verbal cues without relying solely on your physical assistance, okay? So if your dog goes into a run really sure of his skills and, what cues are what, and everything you say to them on that agility course is clear and they understand it, they're going to be more focused because they're going to be more confident, if that makes sense. So always remember that every dog is different and is likely to respond uniquely to an exercise. This is where the online coaching comes in because it's one-to-one. So working on these exercises doesn't automatically mean that your dog will never lose focus or display a displacement behaviour ever again. At the end of the day, they're only dogs. However, they have definitely improved Arrow's focus over the years. And let's face it, spending time with our dogs is fun, and any training session carried out in a positive manner is only going to benefit that all-important dog-handler relationship between you guys. So that is my 5 exercises, including a start line routine that is going to really help with focus. And yeah, if you want more help with any of these exercises, you want, a more in-depth explanation of any of them, or, you want me to actually help you and your dog as individuals work through them and achieve great stuff out of them, then please do get in touch about my one-to-one online coaching. My students are seeing fantastic results. I'm really proud of all of them so far, and it's only been a couple of months. No, not even that. It's been a month. But yeah, so that is there if you guys are interested. And that is pretty much it for today, guys. What do I have coming up? I don't have a lot, again, because of the foot. But on Saturday, I have the Team GB debrief. So travelling down, getting a lift, obviously. And we're having a GB debrief, obviously, from EO and then the people who competed at AWC. But that'll be really interesting to get back together with the team members. Haven't seen a lot of them since the summer. And yeah, just debrief GB's performance this year. And, I'm assuming strategies for improving, things to think about next year, processes going forward. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And to be honest, anything that gets me out of the house, I'm looking forward to. I've been going to a lot of coffee shops lately, which I'm not complaining about. They have quite literally been keeping me sane. And obviously my home workouts. But yeah, I pretty much think I know every single detail about every single wall and corner of my house by now. But I guess it's good that I live in a pretty nice house, isn't it? Not being ungrateful. But anyway, guys, you know the drill from here. Please do leave the podcast a cheeky rating or review, ideally 5 stars if you're feeling generous, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or both if you feel like it and have the time and the effort. That would be great. It really does help me out, and I appreciate you all for listening as usual. Please do keep sending me your podcast topic recommendations, both topics for solo episodes and then guests you'd like me to have on as well, and what with those guests you would like us to talk about. I'm always planning new exciting episodes for you guys and trying to level up the podcast as much as possible. And please do follow me on social media. I'm on pretty much all of the platforms, but especially active on Instagram. That is at Pause in Pursuit. You can find me on pretty much everything and talk to me over there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this week, guys. And I will speak to you all next Wednesday. Thanks for listening. Bye, guys.